guys, it's Reagan and today I'm here with my February wrap-up. Now, for the month of February, I am pretty pleased with what I read. I did read over 5 books. I didn't read as much as I wanted to read, but I'm gonna blame February for just being a shorter month. It's not my fault, it's February's fault. But anyway, without further ado, let's talk about the books I did complete. First book I'm gonna talk about is a carryover from January. I was able to complete The Well of Ascension very quickly on in the month of February, which is book 2 to the Mistborn trilogy. This is a reread for me and one that I am just loving every second of. I obviously picked up the 3rd book immediately once completing the 2nd one as my next commute book, and I'm about halfway through. It's an absolutely incredible high fantasy story set in a world where the bad guy won. It has a great cast of characters, super cool and very intricate magic. And just one that'll really keep you guessing. I really think The Final Empire is a really perfect place to start if you're new to Brandon Sanderson. I have been loving this reread. Each one has gotten a 5 out of 5 stars. I honestly feel like I have liked them more the second time around than the first time around. They're just so good. I love the magic so much. The consumption and the use of metal I just think is so cool. But more than that, the lore of this world is just fascinating. All the different types of creatures and the way that it interacts with itself is just fascinating. Brandon Sanderson constantly is trying to blow your mind and mislead you, misdirect you throughout the series. He does such a good job at doing that, where I'm constantly just reading it with a shocked expression on my face, which is hilarious because I have already read this series and yet he's constantly still surprising me. I feel like I'm blathering on now, but I have just been really loving the rereading experience of this trilogy. It's so good. And I'm a little sad that it's almost over as I'm almost done with The Hero of Ages, but I know that there's going to be many more Brandon Sanderson books for me in the future, so that is something I can hold on to. There, I picked up The Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden. This is the 3rd and final book to the Bear and the Nightingale trilogy. This is another trilogy that I have just loved reading since book 1. It is a historical fantasy series set in Russia. We follow our main character Vasya, who literally grows up throughout each book. She is a child in the first novel, just encountering her magic for the first time and growing up and trying to understand the root. And near the end of the series, she is a full woman who's taking names and not letting anyone tell her what to do. And she's an absolute force of nature whom you just love so much. Also, the author really interweaves a lot of dynamic historical elements to this as well. She really does take the time period in which she's writing this in very seriously and uses that to inspire a lot of the character motivations and like villainous moments that occur, but also like really interesting character struggles within her own siblings as they love their sister Vasya but don't quite know what to do with her, as she's kind of breaking all expectations for women during this time period. This series also incorporates incredible folklore magic and so many interesting like little creatures that pop up. Particularly this one has this little mushroom guy who I love and will adore for the rest of my life. I thought this 3rd novel was a great wrap up to the whole series, one that I just loved so much. Cannot wait to see what Catherine Arden writes in the future, but I gave this one a 4.5, 5 out of 5 stars. So good, so sad to have finished this, but it was so good. Up, I have The Vanishing Star by Maureen Johnson. This is a truly devious novel, the 2nd book to the series, and again, another book that I just loved every second of. This is a YA murder mystery story set in a exclusive and very isolated boarding school in Vermont. It also has 2 different timelines that it's following. One timeline follows our main character Stevie, who basically gets accepted into this very prestigious boarding school, and she is obsessed with mystery. She wants to be an FBI agent, and she basically has her sights set on the biggest mystery of all, which surrounds the school she just got accepted into. This mystery basically follows the founder of the school. Essentially, shortly after it was opened, his daughter and wife were kidnapped and it was never solved. Stevie tries to uncover new clues, but also gets wrapped up in lots of new mysteries, like unexpected things begin to happen around the school. It's so good. I love it. It's kind of spooky. I do get scared pretty easily, but I really enjoyed this from beginning to end. It really propels you forward, and I think the author does a great job combining past and present between chapters, where there's basically 2 concurrent mysteries happening at once, and when they kind of go together, It's so satisfying. But I can't wait for the next book in this series, but the second one was super good. We got some answers that were left open in the first one, but obviously so many more answers need to be had. But ultimately I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, super entertaining, loved every second of it. The next book I picked up was Keeper of the Lost Cities Everblaze, which is the third book to the Keepers series. This is a middle grade series that I picked up late last year, and I've been reading one book a month since I started it, and it has been such a great experience. Each book has only gotten better and better, and I'm falling in love with the characters more and more. This is a story that follows our main character Sophie, who basically in the first one discovers that she's an elf. She also has some magical capabilities. She can basically read other people's minds. So in the first novel, she's swept away to a whole new world, meets all new friends, goes to a magic school, but also finds herself in the center of a secret society and lots of hidden mysteries to this new world she's living in now. The third book keeps growing and growing on those mysteries so much where I honestly have no idea where it's gonna go next. I also just love the whole cast of characters that are present in this, from the adults to the friends. I feel like Shannon Messenger really takes the time to cultivate relationships and many different types of relationships from book to book. We see Sophie grow closer to her adoptive parents. We see her create unique and very trusting relationships with a lot of her schoolmates. It's just in so many ways wholesome and heartwarming, but also a story that's gonna keep you on the edge of your seat and blow you away with the intense plot dynamics of this as well. I also feel like this series touches on so many complex issues, from mourning and just so many things that I think just make it so interesting. But yeah, I've just been loving reading this series for the first time. I loved this one even more than the first two. 5 out of 5 stars. Can't wait to read the fourth one. I know it's gonna be amazing. But yeah, I read this. And the very last book I completed in the month of February, I have to say kind of took me by surprise, and that was Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palpretto. This is the Prustopia Book Club pick for the month of February, and in picking it, we saw it had really good early reviews. The synopsis sounded interesting, but even then I wasn't prepared to like it as much as I did. Because of that, I'm so grateful we picked it, because this series captivated me from page one. It has such great writing, such an interesting plot, super dark, and so many great different perspectives that you're reading from. This is basically set in a world where it's been torn apart by war. About a generation prior to a lot of the characters we're reading from, there was a big war between the Empire and a rebel group that was run by the Phoenix Queen and her Phoenix Riders. These Phoenix Riders are mages. They can basically communicate with animals, and because of that, they make strong bonds with phoenixes and are really great warriors. However, the war, as well as internal strife between the queen and her sister, kind of broke this organization apart, and ultimately the Empire won in this power struggle. Beginning of the story, we follow two sisters. One of them is our main character, Veronica, whose dream is to become a Phoenix Rider. She is an animal mage herself, and she has to keep it hidden. And she also has an incredibly complex relationship with her sister. They have both been struggling to survive and hiding their magic basically their whole life. Essentially, to realize her dream, Veronica runs away, disguises herself as a boy, and joins the rebel Phoenix Riders that are kind of existing still on the undercurrent of society. However, she does this, and she also runs into her sister, which she was not expecting. Again, guys, I love this story so much. It was just incredible. One, the magic was super cool, this animal magic. It was so dark and the world was so richly described. The sister dynamic is complicated, let me tell you. In some ways you empathize and sympathize with both of them, but it is also very, very screwed up, and you're just rooting for Veronica to escape her older sister's clutches. Additionally, you read from a couple different perspectives as well. That adds a lot of dynamic character interaction and development you're not expecting. I just can't articulate enough how much this book took me by surprise and how much I ended up loving it. It has great combat, it has really cool magic, sisterly conflict, romance, someone escaping and dressing up as a boy to join a elite soldier group. Honestly, could not ask for more. It was so good. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Read it. Alrighty guys, those are all the books I read in the month of February. Let me know down below some books you've read recently, as I would love to know, and I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye.